Dan Burisch. Who is he? What's a JRod? And what are aliens doing hanging out at Area 51? Check it out on Talk is Cheap.
Oh, yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of planet Earth and beyond, and everybody in between. My name's Pete Halbleib. Welcome to another episode of Talk is Cheap. And of course, to my right, as always,
Dan Hohlfeld, what's up? I heard you say something about aliens, so I grabbed my UFO shirt real quick while the intro was rolling.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah, because I knew it was important. Of course, it's on our store if you'd like this. Made it myself, designed it, all ready to go. And the cover up, folks. The truth is out there. Right? Pete?
Right, and I'm sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties over here.
You have a wardrobe malfunction.
I am. And over there on the far right, Dusty, how's your night going?
I was having a wonderful night, and then trying to watch you take that jacket off was even better. I'm doing a great job. I'm having a great time. You're doing a great job so far, Pete. I greatly appreciate it. Yeah, oh, yeah. So I'm going to keep talking until you get that figured out. Are you going to flip that over?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, man.
All right.
Sorry,
hi.
Okay. Dan, any thoughts on the shenanigans going on this far?
We got to roll with it, right? Roll with the punches.
Yeah, I guess so. I apologize. Those astute viewers will probably figure out what the heck I'm doing here, why I'm struggling.
Definitely. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So tonight's episode,
Yes.
off to a rocky start, but we're going. Topic submitted by Ash Robinson. This is another one of those topics that have been kind of sitting around for a while, but finally got around to doing it. Wanted us to look into Dan Burisch a little bit, a microbiologist, and a JRod, which is another term that they call the gray aliens.
Why is that? Why a JRod?
We'll get into that.
Oh, we're going to do it? Okay,
we'll get into that.
Yeah,
everything everything in due time, Sir Dusty.
Yes, I'm too curious.
So, of course, with topics like this, in short, Dan Burisch is a guy that had multiple interactions with an alien on Area 51. Mm-hmm. So, of course, it comes with controversy. Okay. Yep. So we're going to talk about some discrepancies, I think, as we go through. One of the red flags, and it shouldn't matter to me, is that he did change his name to Dan Crain. Actually, it's Dr. Dan Burisch or Dr. Dan Crain. So you can kind of Google him and find him under both names. Okay. So if you Google Dan Burisch, JRod, or Dan Crain, JRod, you'll find a bunch of stuff about him. So we
got a question over here.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Already.
Why did he change his name?
Well, that's a good question. I didn't find that out other than
this is what happened.
It's America and people can do whatever they want.
I'm going to change mine.
Okay, awesome. To not so long?
Yeah. But thick.
Yeah. Okay, so Dr. Dan Burisch or Dan Crain, I'm just going to call him Dr. Burisch or Dan Burisch moving forward. Burisch claims to have been a senior operative scientist responsible to the Committee of the Majority and the Majestic 12 from 1986 to 2003, the Majestic 12, and then only to the Majestic 12, 2003 to 2005, and then Majestic 12 was allegedly adjourned in 2005. So what's Majestic 12 or MJ12? Some viewers may want to know. Well, it's a secret committee of scientists, military leaders, and government officials formed in 1947 by Harry Truman.
47, by the way.
Yes.
Roswell.
Yeah, right.
Ding, ding.
Yep, ding, ding, ding. To facilitate recovery and investigation of alien spacecraft. So recovery, 1947, right? Dr. Burisch worked on various black op projects. Project Lotus was one, and Project Aquarius. Project Lotus, for those of us who are keeping up on stuff like that, had to do with a Ganesh particle, which is a particle that can be used to create life. So not like the Higgs boson God particle, but supposedly can create life with it. And then Project Aquarius, which is the research of extraterrestrial biological entities and their presence on Earth. Okay. So, another cool little thing about Dan is that he was abducted in 1973, I believe, in the early 70s. And I do have some video, a really cool, like I said, Dan Burisch, if you Google him, you'll find so many things on YouTube, so many websites that talk about him. He's been on the scene for a long time, and is telling his story.
The video you got here that you're going to be showing in a few minutes, the segments out of it, Project Camelot, I watched a lot of this stuff back in the day. Get done with work after 12 hours. It's like lay in bed. It's like, oh, I got to listen to this stuff and keep up. There's just so much crazy, crazy stuff. Great story, though.
Yeah, it is a super cool story. And I guess before we get into the video, I just want to say like this, when we get into alien stories, when we talk about aliens and their interaction, presence on Earth, traveling between star systems, there's a lot of different variations about it, and I thought the omission of some of the other stuff I've heard from maybe some of the other people that we've talked about on the show, maybe Corey Good for one, it didn't come up. So there's some cool things, but it doesn't like necessarily fall perfectly in line with some of the other stuff we've talked about. Okay, so I want to talk. We'll take a quick look. This is Dan talking about his abduction in 1973,
and that it's happened.
Okay, apparently, what has happened to you?
Well. In 1973, I was playing in a park in Southern California in Mayboyer Park, and this is going to probably come out in one or more of the versions of the debriefing with me. I was playing baseball with my grandpa in the park, and I was having him throw me a ball so I could catch it over my shoulder. I was trying to run away at the same time that he would throw the ball so I could try to catch the ball like Willie Mays' famous catches. During one of these throws of the ball, I remember looking up toward the sun because it was high in the sky at the time. It was summertime, and glancing away because the sun was blinding me, looking down toward the grass, which was very bright green at the time, and then seeing a flash where the grass appeared to turn black. I appeared, from my perspective, I was covered in a shadow. The shadow reminded me of a triangular bat kite that I had played with my grandfather over the riverbed nearby. And that's the way I basically was able to describe it at the time. I was, 9? I was 9 at the time.
And the grass.
Then I remember a flash. Immediately, there's a disjoint memory of this. It's not contiguous. Where I saw my grandfather sitting over by a tree, several yards away from me, and the sun had clearly moved in its aspect to me, so time had clearly passed. The earth had moved and time had passed.
Okay, we can stop it there. Yep. So anyway, there it is. Go to now to the next one, 1955 time, and then he talks a little bit more about it. That I want to just kind of absorb this, and we'll continue.
But the JRod showed me what happened to me, that I was picked up and that I was laid down on a table in some sort of a craft, and that this craft was a generally chevron-shaped, almost triangular shaped craft.
DR3B.
And I was laid down next to a series of young people, one of which was in fact the son of the former MJ1. Something went wrong during the course of my time.
I wanted to kind of share that. So he was abducted, brought up to this craft. Now, he used the term JRod. Okay, so what's a JRod? Dusty, you asked that. Well, as I mentioned earlier, he became friends with a gray alien, and it's a JRod named Chiela. And this particular gray alien was from the future, roughly 52,000 years from present. Okay? How they do this is they have time travel technology that they can, pop in and out of time periods. And they come from the Aquarius constellation, Gliese 876c. And this is how they identify themselves as JRods, as Gliese 876c is approximately 15 light years from Earth. And this, it's like a staging base they use that it cuts down time to travel here. The JRod, this particular JRod Cheala, identified himself to the Sigma linguistics team numerically as he pointed to an inertial bar drawing and a J from the alphabet, 15th letter. So JRod. Okay. So it's descriptive and sums to 15 as a bar in the Mayan number system equals 5, and the 10th place in the alphabet is J. So inertial bar in the Mayan system is 5, 10th letter is J. JRod is what they call them. So anyway, they're from originally from Zeta Reticuli, and they travel from the future to look for a fix for their DNA problem. They have a lost genetic factor.
I've heard of this.
These JRods, these gray aliens, are descendants from humans. Okay. 52,000 years in the future. And what's interesting, and we always bring up Stargate on this show when we talk about aliens.
Oh, yeah.
And that was one of the interesting things that the gray aliens in Stargate were dealing with, was that they were having trouble with their DNA. So, because they would clone, and they were having trouble, and they were losing certain aspects of it.
Say that show hits so much.
I know,
it's crazy.
As I was going through this, and I knew that you were going to say that, because we talk about that all the time. It's like it's Stargate. It seems to be like completely full disclosure.
And that was in the 90s.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so they're descendants of humans. Cheala survived a UFO crash in Kingman, Arizona, in 1953. So about 6 years after Roswell. And then at that point, the government took him to Area 51, and there he sat for years and years. Excuse me. So when I talked earlier about the discrepancies and how things don't line up, this is where it kind of gets a little goofy, because I think Roswell and the Kingman crashes get confused sometimes on the websites and stuff, because I came across sites that said, in the Kingman crash, there was only dead aliens. Oh, no, but there was 2 survivors. According to this account, there was just one, Cheala. So it gets a little goofy, but overall, it seems like that, to me, that I look at the more consistent stuff. But anyway, and it seems like the popular belief here is that just one alien, Cheala, made it out of the 1953 Kingman, Arizona crash. Play 4216.
Did you skip 2222? We never played that one.
Oh no, I didn't play that one. You're queued up. This is after the abduction.
Nice getting the synchronistic numbers, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
Boy that liked to play baseball and with G.I. Joes and things like that. The record of me at the time was that I had an okay acuity in science. That's what the elementary school teachers were saying. I don't remember having acuity like that in science. And there's a disjoint in my own story of myself because of this. Because after I was put down back in the park, over the course of the next couple of years, there were changes in me. But then again, there should have been, because I was growing up. But there was a substantive intellectual change in me, where I was no longer interested in those same things of my youth. Was that maturation? Probably some of it. Was it a change as a result of what was done with me on board the craft? The Majestic thinks so. Thinks that it had something to do with that other boy, because that other boy was known as very bright.
So anyway, yeah, there's a whole other subplot with this other guy. But anyway, what I wanted to kind of bring up here is that he was abducted, placed back, and then suddenly went through some sort of intellectual awakening, right? And what struck me with that when I was watching this video is that we're in Wisconsin. We broadcast from Wisconsin, and I would say about 40 miles away is Richland Center, a small town called Richland Center. One of the most I guess, not documented, but talked about alien abductions in the state of Wisconsin happened right off of County Road Z, right outside of Richland Center. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, there was a father-son couple was driving back, I believe from Minneapolis or something down to Madison, and they were abducted, lost time there, started remembering bits and pieces. But one of the things they described was that after the event, they slowly both became they started writing down mathematical equations they didn't understand, and started doing all this complex math and physics and science stuff. So I thought there was some echoes of that there too. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to mention that as a sidebar. Okay, so my goodness, he got super smart. Eventually went on. He got his degree in microbiology. Got hooked up with the folks out at Area 51.
Did it say how he got hooked up with them at Area 51? He was just doing his biology stuff and then they came to him?
He hooked up with somehow with the military in '86 and started with MJ-12. It's funny you mention that too, because there's some discussion around his credentials, as you always find in this type of stuff. And supposedly some of the stuff he said he's been to, he was actually a security guard working at some other place or something. But we'll just let that one. Do your own research and make your own decision on that. But anyway, he got hooked up with him. So before we get too far ahead, go to 4216, Dan. This is talks a little bit of the history of how these Greys and JRods all happened.
The idea was to reverse an illness that he and his people have, which is the 52.
The 52s, and what we were trying to do initially, jumping off onto the biology a little bit, what we were trying to do is we were trying to actually strip the exterior cytoplasm off from the cells and produce cells which would be independently functioning, then to understand those cells biochemically, genetically, so that those cells could then be re-added as a graft into the JRod to attempt to ameliorate the neuropathy. That's what one of the stated goals was. Easier said than done. But we were told, though, that if...
All right, that's good. So anyway, describing what their goal was and what his role was working for him. So these gray aliens got some DNA issues, and they were trying to help him by creating basically a self-functioning cell that would then take care of these problems. What's interesting is this is an older video, and now with CRISPR and all that stuff that's come out, I'm guessing these JRods are pretty happy with what we've done.
Why don't they have the technology?
Dusty, don't ask those kind of questions.
Absolutely, I'll be quiet.
Good question, though. A quote from Dan is that JRod's race had actually inhabited Earth many thousands of years prior, before being forced to leave by several factors. Pole shift, solar flares, and extensive crumbling of the Earth's mantle. So... Anybody been following how quick the North Pole's moving on us lately?
Yes.
Scientists are having trouble finding it. And the further north you get on the globe, your compasses are garbage. It's moving like dozens, if not 100 miles a year now. The North Pole is moving.
And they say it could really flip here pretty soon.
If it could be picking up speed. I think it is picking up speed. So pay attention to that. Okay. Wanted to share a video of Dan's account with his relationship with the JRod. The JRod's time travel, the crash in 1953, and a little bit more about Dan's abduction. So 3240, play that.
With you, and you're talking about your relationship with JRod and how you communicated with him telepathically. That struck me as incredibly real, and from that point on, I was very interested in what you had to say, because I said, this man really experienced this. This is not bullshit. This is the real thing. So if you could reiterate kind of how you started working with JRod.
Well, he was working with me before I ever knew it. Of course, he was on board, as I understand. I have no memory of him directly, but I mean, as I understand, in '73.
He was on board when he was
had
abducted.
traveled to '73.
The alien was.
Okay.
And then, this is even what I said to Jeff Ransom.
Wait, say that again?
So when he was abducted in
As a boy.
1973, Chela was on the ship he was taken to.
Okay.
Remember,
So when he was playing catch.
But remember, Chela crashed in 1953, though. Anyway.
Oh.
Anyway.
Well, shit.
Well, yeah, this is the time travel piece.
Okay.
This doesn't boggle. I mean, it boggles my mind when you think about paradoxes to start with. That he traveled to '73. I was picked up, and then he subsequently traveled back to the '53 time frame, and there was a crash, which means that he was held at S4 in 1973 at the time that I was playing baseball with my grandpa, and that he was also on board the craft, impinging into our time, lifting me up. Prosaically, I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's a paradox, I guess. I mean, but I actually came into direct contact with him at the end of 1993, start of '94. Yeah, there's something wrong.
So interesting, huh? So there's a little bit about that, about how Chela was literally in two places at the same time, which some people with physics wouldn't necessarily agree with that.
Time travel, man.
So you may have heard that they referred to them as JRod 52s or the 52s. Well, that signifies that those are the gray aliens from 52,000 years in the future. But according to Burisch, UFOs that we're seeing are not actually spacecraft. They are time traveling devices, and they actually come from three different groups. The P45s, which are the gray aliens from 45,000 years in the future. The P52s, which we're talking about, Shayla is one of them, is 52,000 years in the futures. And the P52 Orions. Now, he doesn't talk about the P52 Orions, but they are a different type of alien, but yet another descendant of humans. Back when we split, when we were forced to leave the planet or whatever he was describing. And so we're not talking about aliens, we're talking about human beings from the future, according to Dan. Okay. That just look differently. They've evolved. The Orion ones, I said that the JRods come from originally from the Zeta Reticuli. These come from the Orions come from the constellation of Orion, hence the name. Burisch received a telepathic mind meld with JRod over the years. Okay, let me take a step back. So Burisch was working with the JRod at Area 51 S4, and they had this big kind of biosecurity dome that they would go into, and when they left, they had to go through the several-hour decontamination process. And so over the years, Dan was working with Chela, and they developed a bond and a friendship with each other. And so eventually, Chela pulled Dan forward, and they touched heads, and they mind melded together. Apparently, Dan was in a coma for several days after this. Information on the Ganesh particle was transferred. Remember Project Lotus, the Ganesh particle, the ability to basically bond energy into a particle that you can create life. Now, he allegedly has knowledge for this, and actually he kind of attributes at some points that's why he's still alive, is that MJ12, or the descendants of MJ12, whatever it evolved into. They don't want to lose that information, so they're keeping him alive until they can figure out how to get it out of him.
I want to back you up here a little bit,
go
Pete.
for it.
So before that mind meld happened, they actually had a protocol. Like, he was supposed to raise his hand, I believe.
Okay.
And then you never read this?
No, I know. I didn't come across it, but
and
go
the
ahead.
alien was supposed to do something. They're supposed to slowly approach each other. And then the alien's the one that broke the protocol
and came at him.
ran-
And came
got on
at.
top
Oh,
of
I
him.
missed that. I missed that part.
That was a big thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks, Dan.
Okay.
I appreciate you looked
Can I
into
ask you
that.
another question?
Sure.
Because
If I can remember.
I'm the guy. Why the humongous detox?
Decontamination.
Decontamination.
He was actually in a suit when he was in there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, he was in a suit in there. I don't know, alien biological protocols. You know,
Yeah.
quarantines.
Okay.
Probably standard quarantine, I would think, right? You don't want alien germs to get out.
Well, I mean, they're
cause a freaking
Pandemic.
Pandemic,
Or,
but
yeah.
they also just abducted people and drop them back down. So I was like,
Government, man.
maybe the aliens got their own decontamination.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
All right.
and I'll tell you, the government does all sorts of weird stuff
Oh,
we
of
don't
course,
understand.
yeah,
So, okay.
So this picture is allegedly.
Oh yeah,
Can we
this
show
one,
this?
this one I came across. It's an alleged leaked Area 51 photo. Some websites said this is Chayla. Some just use it as stock footage. So I don't know. I thought it was kind of neat to throw in there.
I
at least.
actually remember seeing the video of that.
Yeah,
It,
right.
like,
There,
it
yeah, because
moves and
there's
stuff.
some really weird videos out there, and then of course there's the Eisenhower handshake one too.
I'm gonna see if I can find it while you.
But I basically threw that in there just for a little eye candy. So instead of just listening to me talk all
Oh,
the
it's
time.
good stuff.
Yeah, this is interesting. This is
when
interesting.
you say eye candy, it's not exactly what I think of.
Yeah,
but
right. But yeah, it's different. Well, you know what? And with this story too, and with Dan's account and alleged experience, what I find interesting is that you do hear some time travel capabilities of aliens and stuff, right? And how else are they going to be doing some of this stuff? But what's interesting is that he's coming out and saying these are descendants of human beings from the future, which is a little different take, right?
I can see that, yeah.
Than what we normally think about when we're talking light years away,
and,
right?
And being a reader of a lot of science fiction and whatnot, it's interesting that they have these really small necks and thin arms and whatnot, because a lot of the books are always talking about spacers. Well, not, but that's one name that they give them, and how you can tell people were born and lived in space where there's lower gravity because they'll have longer limbs, thinner bones,
Yep.
That type of thing. So
Sure.
I can kind of see that similarity with aliens that we talk about now. So.
Yep. Have you ever watched the movie or the TV show series The Expanse?
Oh yeah, I read the books.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Maybe it got better, but I didn't really care for the first season a little bit. It got kind of.
The books are phenomenal.
I thought it got better, but there were some slow spots, just like anything when you're coming up with a series, look at Walking Dead or
But I
whatever.
guess that's actually what we got. We got the base on the moon. We got the base
Yeah.
on the Mars there.
right. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up. But anyway, there was a lot of things about developing. They had to take pills to supplement if they were out in space too long.
Okay.
By the way,
Yeah.
I got the video up here. We'll
Oh, you did grab it.
D-roll it here.
All right.
It does move.
Boy, look
kinda.
at the eyelid movement. I mean, come on. It's blinking.
All fake.
Yeah, right. I mean, and what's crazy about this, unless you can demonstrate to me that was somehow CGI'd or whatever. I mean, you've got like up close footage of an alien. People still don't believe in them.
I know.
No, they need
Good luck
to,
with
like,
Sasquatch,
They
you
need to
know?
land in Times Square, New York, or some crazy thing, and
Oh, that won't cause a panic. Oh, here's this other one. Remember we showed this
Yeah,
before in the
I
show?
remember. I came across this one when I was looking too, and this one's a little more sketchy just because of the low lightness.
I think
but-
this one's legit, to be honest.
yeah, it's pretty good, but the low. Well, this one was sick, right?
Yeah, they kept interrogating him. His immune system was wearing down,
Yeah.
and that bubble, I guess, is his heartbeat, I believe. But then, he has issues.
Because he coughs or something, doesn't
then-
he, through it?
Yeah,
There
then
you
the
go, yeah.
doctors run in and see if, because the guy Victor who did this says that the doctors were chosen for their ability to keep secrets, not their ability to actually
doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, that looks pretty legit there. What good does shining a light in their eyes do, though?
Well, that's what they teach you, right?
Yeah.
Or you see it on the movies. It's just.
trying to see if there's anything.
They're not in any biosecurity suit, though.
Nope.
Interesting.
They got the thing around their mouth, though, so they're all right.
Oh, yeah. That'll save them from alien flu.
I get it now.
Okay. That That's a super cool video too. We digress.
Yeah.
Okay. So after Dan Burisch developed this relationship with JRod, somehow they ended up in Egypt together in front of a Stargate that was active and unattended. And Dan shoved him through the Stargate and sent him back to his home planet.
Did he describe the Stargate?
A little bit. I don't think.
Because I heard another person describe the Stargates as being square, not the ones we're seeing.
It didn't get into that. He talks about the Stargate a little bit more in the video we're pulling clips from. So, and I just encourage people to do some Googling, because you can spend hours reading about this guy.
Oh, it's really long. That interview is what, 2 hours?
Two and a quarter hours. Yeah. And there's dozens of other articles and videos on him, and he's got he went in front of the camera a lot telling this story. So anyway, here's another discrepancy. Like, I came across some information that said that Chela actually died in captivity versus getting sent through the Stargate, and that he was a prisoner there, and that's why Dan let him go. But then another website was talking about how it was part of an exchange program. In the back of my mind, I was thinking we're getting Project Serpo blended in here, because if you remember, Project Serpo was gray alien exchange program from the Zeta Reticuli system.
It was Zeta Reticuli, but they weren't grays. They were the Ebons.
Oh, really? I thought it was grays.
They kind of looked like grays. I'll bring a picture up real quick.
All right. I'm sorry. All right. Well, good. I'm glad you clarified that, because I remember we talked about Project Serpo and Zeta Reticuli. So anyway, I kind of felt that was maybe like just some unintentional misinformation there, I'll say.
All I remember is Project Serpo was they brought that lawnmower with them. Remember that, Dusty?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
why the hell do you need a lawnmower?
So we're
here.
We'll talk a little bit about
not quite grays. The eyes are smaller.
Not quite. So
Better jawline.
This Stargate in Abydos, Egypt, is a natural Stargate. Dan goes on to talk about the different types of Stargates there are. Okay, and there are at least, according to Burisch, there are at least 50 Stargate or portals scattered across the planet. 50 on the planet.
50.
And they're controlled by several countries, and there's 3 types of them. The first they refer to as Yellow Book, and which allow the user to see their own future.
This is Looking Glass.
The second type are wormholes of natural origin, and they're located at specific points on the planet. I would start looking at ley lines if you want to find out where these are, right? And where these things are lining up. And these allow people and objects to be transported to other planets or stars. Don't know why you'd want to travel to a star, but whatever. Technology is cool. Maybe you got suits that can handle it. But anyway, so that's your traditional Stargate, right? You can walk through it, send robots through it, right? Yep. And the third types are Stargates or portals that were created by humans. Apparently, the Majestic 12 group built several of these in the Looking Glass project. And they can be used in combination with the Yellow Book ones to see the future. So they're looking at the future, and they can somehow do that. So Majestic 12 has been building these. Dan predicts that in the future, a catastrophe will occur that will kill millions of people. According to Dan, it's about between 4 billion, 500 million people. So about 4.5 billion people will die with this. Didn't provide any details about when it will be,
of course not.
how it will happen, or when it will happen.
Yellowstone caldera.
However, it is described in the Aztec Stone of the Sun, in which it's spoken of the 5th age, the age we're currently in. There will be a cosmic tragedy. Now, people hooked on, I found some older websites that were pointing to December 22nd, 2012. That's the end of the Mayan calendar, and saying this is when it's going to happen. And I think we heard a lot about Planet X and this and that and all these things that were going to happen. Well, we're here, but maybe we did an episode on Max Lohan or however you want to pronounce his name, and according to him, it could have happened. We would have just shifted to a different dimension.
Sure.
But anyway, so again, another Mandela effect potential, right?
Right.
So Dan may be right. But anyway, when this tragic event occurs, that's when the human race splits and begins this 45,000, 52,000 year journey in the future, which then will create grays. Time travel technology will start degrading our DNA. We'll have to come back. Stargate will get made, the TV show, and then they'll talk about it. I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
Yeah. So anyway, super
But
cool.
the question is, they're trying to prevent that future by coming back. So if they, I guess...
Or are they just trying to take whatever we develop here because for some reason they have time travel technology, but not technology to do genetic stuff. I wish, yeah, good. You saw Dusty's look. I was like, that was a good one.
There we go.
Dusty, it's a hole. I'd like to hear in some comments, maybe if somebody's a little more versed on that, maybe Ash can chime in if he's done a lot of studying. Zip that up for us because that's a huge thing. Why would they come back and ask us for anything? We got to be like us.
We got to be archaic.
Yeah, we got to be like going back and knocking on Rhesus monkey doors and saying, "Hey, can you develop us a vaccine for cancer?"
Be us going to the jungle and asking gorillas how to make a better nuclear
weapon
power plant or something.
Yeah. So anyway, but it's a super cool story. He's out there a lot. He hasn't been afraid to talk about it for many years. And I thought it was a really good suggestion.
Yeah.
Good thing to talk about.
Good topic. It really is.
Anything else, gentlemen?
No, sir, you did a wonderful job.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on another great episode of Talk is Cheap, where talk is cheap and cheap is talk, and talk is cheap.
There you go. Just put you the hell on. I don't care
talk
anymore.
is cheap and cheap is talk, and talk is cheap and cheap is talk.
Hell
He's in a loop.
Yeah, we'll see you next time, folks. Have a good one.
Take it easy.